Iranian foreign minister has been in town. He's met the foreign minister, he's met the prime minister as well, and a number of others. At the end of his talks with Julie Bishop, the Iranian foreign minister had a couple of things to say in a joint press conference. One on the prospect of a deal to send back asylum seekers to Iran. Have a look.
Well, we don't have any objection to Iranian citizens coming back to Iran voluntarily. And we are working to allow them, enable them to come back voluntarily. We cannot force anybody to come back to Iran, but if anybody wants to come back voluntarily, we always take our citizens with pride.
No forcible returns, but if anyone volunteers to return to Iran, Iran is willing to take them back in. We also heard the foreign minister defend recent ballistic missile tests from Iran that the US has suggested are in breach of UN resolutions and need to be dealt with by the UN Security Council.
Iran is on the record that we will not use those missiles against anybody except in self-defense, and we challenge those who question our missiles program to make the same statement, simply to make the same statement that they will not attack other countries, that force is not acceptable means of advancing foreign policy, that according to the UN Charter, you cannot resort to force except in self-defense, and Iran has made that commitment that we will not use force except in self-defense, but if attacked, Iran will defend itself. And missiles are a means of our defense. We use far less resources on defense than anybody in the region.
Well, Labor MP Michael Danby is amongst those most outraged at the welcome mat being laid out for the Iranian Foreign Minister here in Canberra today. He's with me now. Michael Danby, thanks for your time.
Thanks, David.
Let me start with this. Should we be having the Iranian Foreign Minister here at all, in your view?
Well, the Australian government, Malcolm Turnbull and Julie Bishop, have said they're in favour of this Iranian nuclear arrangement, so it's probably inevitable that we're engaging with them. My point, and Tanya Plibersek's point, is that we ought not to have stayed silent since we signed the nuclear agreement previously. To be consistent, Australia as a democracy would have raised violations of international norms, such as the guided missile test that you pointed out.
Is that a violation? The Foreign Minister today pointed to what the resolution says, and it basically says it can call on Iran not to conduct missile tests. It can't stop or ban Iran.
Well, we should have called on them just like the United States did. In fact, the United States, the Obama administration, which has been quite indulgent as far as the nuclear treaty with Iran is concerned, put sanctions on the individuals who did that. Now, it's pretty rough, David. It doesn't give a very good impression, as I pointed out to the Iranian Foreign Minister at the Foreign Affairs Committee this morning when he met us. To write on the side of the missile, Israel must be wiped out, doesn't give Western countries a lot of confidence that we're dealing with the moderate, affable regime that he likes to evince, you know, when he appears alongside Julie Bishop at a press conference.
Well, there is no doubt, as you say, this more moderate image is being projected by President Rouhani and his ministers from Iran. Looking beyond the missile issue, what about on the trade front? An announcement from the Australian government today that we will open an Austrade office in Tehran. Is that a good idea?
Look, I've favoured, strangely, being an opponent of the arrangement with the nuclear arrangement with Iran and our silence in the ensuing 6 months, a diplomatic post in Iran, because I think it's an important listening post. I think we're being wildly optimistic about the trade benefit that will accrue to Australia. And of course we can have a trade arrangement with Iran, it's just that we don't have to stay silent. When the Iranian government organises an official contest mocking the Nazi genocide of the Second World War, as they do every year, and they did it again in November, Australia should speak up. We're a decent democratic country. We should speak up on the ballistic missiles. We should speak up on the cartoon competition. We should speak up about Hezbollah, which is an organisation prescribed by the Australian Parliament as a terrorist organisation.
Largely funded by
Iran. They and the Iranians surround the Sunni city of Aleppo in Syria. Now, some people say we're on the same side as the Iranians. I don't agree with that. I don't think Australia agrees with that. I don't think we're on the same side as Assad. And we should say something that this is causing all of these poor refugees to flee to Europe, make a bigger problem for the whole world. And the Iranians, like the Russians, should get out of there.
The situation in Syria, of course, is incredibly complex, as everyone appreciates. But you don't accept that Iran and the role of the Shiite militia there are doing any good in pushing back the ISIS fighters?
David, Syria is an 80% Sunni country. It does no good in the short, medium or long term to have a Shiite army surrounding a city of 300,000 civilians. The Russians are bombing the moderates.
It may be a Sunni majority, but there is an extreme element. It's causing enormous problems.
100%. And Australia, with the opposition support, is working hard against Daesh in eastern Syria, where they mainly are, and we should continue to do that. We should be supporting the moderates in Syria too, who are fighting on the ground against both Assad and Daesh.
Are we doing that?
When we're allowing the Iranians, Hezbollah, etc., and the Russians to kill them before they do anything about Daesh. If you look at the Russian bombing, for instance, 80% of it's concentrated on the pro-American moderates who are resisting both Daesh and Assad.
Getting back to your concerns over missiles, as you point out, you actually met with the Foreign Minister yourself today. I'm told it was quite warm and friendly, was it?
Oh, it was businesslike, it was professional.
All right. So what did you say to him?
I pushed him over the ballistic missile tests, what was written on the side of it.
But isn't that what Julie Bishop did as well? I mean,
She did, but she didn't ask the question that comes out of that. And the question that comes out of that is, Minister, if you've got wipe out Israel written on the side of your missiles, what would happen if there was a peace agreement between the two countries? What would Iran's stance be on recognising both Israel and Palestine?
So did you ask him that?
Yeah, I did. And he gave the implicit Iranian position that Julie Bishop should have got out of him, and that is, we won't recognise Israel, we'd only recognise Palestine.
All right. Michael Danby, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks, David. I'm sorry to give you the bad news, but
no, that's always good to have you on. Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate your time.
it.